introduce Natalie Davis and Tyrone Adams. Natalie, just to give you a tiny bit of background here, Natalie, Women's Council, oh my gosh, I'm just going to share a personal story. I got paired up with Natalie at the request of Pam Carter a couple years ago. I had received a scholarship and I was like, what the heck is this Women's Council thing? And I got a scholarship to go to one of the national conferences. Oh my gosh, so glad I did. Pam Carter says, oh my gosh, you have to room with Natalie. And I'm like, oh, what have I gotten myself into? It was the best experience. We bonded over makeup and Prada and educated ourselves during the day. It was incredibly valuable, even the eyeshadow. So we really connected. And she's just a wonderfully bright and amazing, intelligent woman who brings a lot to real estate. She's active at the CAR level. So this is Colorado Association of Realtors. Tyrone Adams. Oh my gosh, Tyrone, I don't mean to not talk about you. I want to talk about your eyeshadow too. But he is the CEO. Oh my gosh, we should not highlight Ty here. He is leading the helm. I'm going to turn it over to both of them so they can tell a little bit more about their personality, backgrounds, how they got to be where they are today. And then we'll start talking about diversity and inclusion, kind of panel style. We have a couple questions to go through. If you have more, shout them out in the chat. We've got kind of a big group today, so let's keep it to the chat. But Natalie, may I turn it to you first? Give us a little background.
Yeah, absolutely. So good morning, everyone. And thank you, Beth Ann, for having us. I'm really excited to share just maybe some insight with what's happening at the state level and some initiatives that we have to offer everyone. I don't know if I'm going to be able to share about my personality. I have a feeling that you'll see it as I speak and share with you guys today. But as Beth Ann mentioned, I am involved with the Colorado Association of Realtors. I'm the current chair for the Diversity and Inclusion Committee for 2021. And I see a lot of committee members that have jumped on today. So really fortunate to be a part of that committee and work with the state association. I am also an avid volunteer for our association. So I've served at the local level on committees and as a local chair for the Fort Collins Board of Realtors. I've also served as the diversity and inclusion chairperson for the South Metro Denver Realtor Association, and for the National Association of Realtors. I will serve on the 2022 Leadership Committee, and not to mention being a founding member for the Northern Colorado Network for Women's Council. So I am, 100% invested in our industry. I absolutely love all that our industry has to offer, the role that we play in, creating the communities that we live, work, and serve in. And that's a little bit about me. I am married with 2 kids and a dog that is literally right here. So if she wakes up, you guys might hear her, but she is my assistant on most days and helps me get through the day. And yeah, I'm so excited to be here with you guys today. So thank you, Beth Ann, for the invitation.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Ty, tell us a little bit about you also.
Well, good morning, everybody. It is definitely a pleasure to be on this Zoom call today. So I'm Tyrone Adams. I'm the CEO for the Colorado Association of Realtors, and I've been with CAR for 27, going on 28 years now. I actually started off in the member services and meeting and events divisions, and then I kind of just worked my way through the association, taking on anything and everything that they threw my way. And I was very honored in 2015 when they hired me to be their new CEO for the association. So I'm really excited about that. Just a little bit more about me. I'm involved in a lot of different things. I definitely believe in diversity and inclusion and working with a lot of different groups, stakeholders, to make sure that everybody has the opportunity for home ownership and for safe, affordable housing in Colorado. And then also, this is my background. I'm a native of Colorado, born and raised in Denver, grew up on East Denver side, then also Park Hill area, went to University of Northern Colorado, which is a great place for me. And so married with 3 kids, 2 grandkids, and I don't have a dog, but I have my 3 goldfish right here to my left that are giving my support today.
Good. Good. I am very glad you have an audience. And that's kind of why I left it on the mode I'm in, romper room, Muppet mode, whatever you want to call it, seance mode, because I like for the interaction, whether it's your goldfish, your dog at your feet, something like that. I want to see people's faces today. I think we all have something to contribute here. It's really compelling topic as we get into Black History Month, as we're, oh my gosh, what time is it? Oh, it's halfway through already. Where did February go? Well, let's get into some questions specifically. Natalie, you kind of hinted at this, but there's a lot going on right about now, and the National Association has actually placed a lot of emphasis on diversity, equality, equity, inclusion. I mean, we all saw the news from last year. That's only one contributing factor. But give me a little perspective on initiatives happening or coming down from the national level of what you're doing at the car level, how this actually affects us. It seems so far away sometimes, but how does this affect us?
Yeah, good question. So this past year has been an interesting one to say the least. I mean, if you talk about the many variables that have played a role in how we do business and how we operate as realtors, 2020 has been one that has thrown quite a few ingredients into the recipe, if we're looking at recipes. So from the national level, last year under Vince Malta's term, with everything that we were facing as a nation, just as a society in general around the globe, he made it a point to place emphasis and focus on inclusion and diversity and equality within our industry. So on the national level, we have now an inclusion and diversity statement that was issued that is available for you guys to take a look at. If you want to head over to nar.realtor/diversity, there are a ton of resources available there. But beyond just making a statement, Vince made sure that he put some action items in play as well, right? So we have now additional resources and training that's available for members, for associations. So it's been amazing to watch those resources become available for us. We also have grant dollars available for continuing education, which is always nice. For those of us that have volunteered in the nonprofit realm, when you're looking at grant dollars to continue the effort of continued education to our membership and continuing to bring the message to our membership, we have a few other initiatives that are coming down the pipeline, just in terms of resources that we can customize and make available for the practitioner out on the field, so that we have, what is our position or statement that we're taking as we're working with the public, right? And these are things that a lot of agents and unfortunately brokerages didn't address previously, right? If it was a statement of diversity and inclusion, or even a statement about equality within the brokerage, those are things that may not have been at the forefront or thought for a lot of individuals or companies. Now's the opportunity for us to have those conversations and to utilize the resources that are available. At the state level, we're also doing the same thing, looking into creating these resources and tools that we can bring to our members. But we'll talk a little bit more about what's happening at the state level a little later. But again, a challenging time. But when I say I'm a proud Realtor member to see that there was a need and action that needed to be taken, and we had the leadership that took that opportunity to really stand up and say, we are taking a stand for doing what's right for all individuals. And Tyrone mentioned it. Our job is protecting the consumer, right? In terms of home ownership, private property rights. Like, these are the things that we're focused on. So what are our initiatives? What are our actions, our daily actions that help us in moving towards that, so that we can help the consumer while raising the level of professionalism and inclusivity within our industry?
Absolutely. I think that's key. Ty, what do you have? Are there any initiatives that affect associations that will impact our members or volunteers?
Well, yeah, NER brought down, I'm sure everybody's aware of 10-5 right now for Code of Ethics. And the reason why 10-5 was brought to, the board of directors approved that, was because they feel like there was a need out there to make sure that their members were not discriminating against any group outside of the real estate transaction. As you know, the Code of Ethics was all based on everything within inside the real estate transaction. Well, they wanted to go a step beyond that. They wanted to say, this is the Realtor brand, and it's a $10 billion brand that they take real pride in. And when they came out with their membership awareness campaign or their consumer awareness campaign, that's who we are. They wanted the consumers to understand that they are diverse and they are inclusive. And I also want to make sure everybody understands there is no diversity without inclusion, because those two have to go hand in hand. And it's about everyone having the right to safe, affordable housing, fair housing, and home ownership. And I think that's what NAR was trying to get across with 10-5. And I'll also like to mention, Beth Ann, is that even CAR, a couple of years ago, the board of directors approved a new membership discipline in its bylaws. And it reads this: it says, any act or conduct which may cause disrespect or lack of public confidence in the real estate transaction professional or in the name of realtor. So once again, if you look at that, there's some similarities there. And it's all about protecting the realtor brand and also making sure that realtors are representing the greatest light when it comes to building vibrant communities, safe, affordable housing, and helping consumers achieve their homeownership dreams.
You know, and Ty, I mentioned, I read something, I know I'm going to get these statistics wrong, but it was so appalling to me. I think I heard at some point 74% of African Americans felt discriminated against in a real estate transaction. That's sad. And let me tell you another one. If I remember correctly, it was 86% of women in a same-sex relationship didn't even feel so discriminated against. They just didn't contact a realtor because they figured, oh, it's a guarantee I'm going to be discriminated against. I don't even want to have the poor self-esteem of that relationship. They didn't even start. Didn't even give us as realtors a chance. And those are two appalling statistics. And I think a lot of what you're talking about here is really going to change that, or I hope it'll change that. Because, you know, I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, at a minimum, I want more clients. I mean, I want more people to buy homes. But continue on that a little bit, Ty. Tell me, so diversity and inclusion within the local association is a major area of focus. Can you share a little bit of like what the leadership of CAR is working on to ensure that diverse, inclusive, equitable environment for all of us, for, you know, the realtor members, for the consumer, for everyone? What do you have?
Well, sure. And I want to take a step back real quick to just kind of piggyback a little bit on your statistics that you put out there. Sure. Last year during the fall forum, we actually had a panel with the Civil Rights Division. One of the representatives was there, and they mentioned that you know, about all those different disparities there. But they said the number two groups that are being discriminated against are veterans and also people with disabilities. So, you know, when we talk about inclusion and all those type of things, we want to make sure everybody has that opportunity to be able to buy a home, right? To have a place, because we all know what the benefits are when it comes to home ownership. It brings stability. There's statistics that show that your kids do a lot better in school. You know, just a semblance of a place to call home, right? So I just want to share that with you guys. But so from CAR's standpoint, we're doing a couple of things. You know, we had to look at CAR from an internal perspective, but also from an external perspective. It's not always external where all the fixing needs to be done. Sometimes it's internally. And so we just did a audit on the association to make sure that there weren't any inherent biases that we were actually practicing that we just didn't know about. And so we looked at things like our marketing. How do we market things out to our membership? I mean, when you have 27,000 members across the state, are we really touching them, or are we really is our marketing really geared to one segment? Not that we're doing that intentionally, but sometimes unintentionally, we get that clip art from, you know, the websites, and we just put things in because it looks nice, it looks splashy, without really thinking about what does this really mean. And so we're looking at things like that, and that's an easy win, right? Change that up a little bit, just be more focused on that. But we're also start looking at our hiring practices. Are we giving those opportunities out there for everybody when we do have openings? There's opportunities for everyone to apply. Now, the bottom line is we want to make sure that we always have the right person for the right job, and that's what we're going to go with. But we want to make sure that we also give people opportunities to apply for those jobs, no matter who you are, no matter what your walk of life is. You have the opportunity to apply for these jobs. And so we're trying to make sure that we do that going forward. Internally, you know, it's not funny, but the CAR has really been focusing on diversity and inclusion for quite some time. Back in the 1990s, and I can say that because I was here in the 1990s, there was Equal Opportunity Committee, and I see a few people on here that was probably there with me that when we were doing this. I think Derek Caminez was one. I saw Kay Watson on here as well. That we remember those times. And I remember when that actually went away because we got stagnant, we got stuck because we didn't know what to do next. We were doing things in events, we were doing home ownership fairs and things like that, and participating in different events to promote home ownership, but we kind of got stuck. And so it kind of went away, and we decided the reason why it should go away is because this should be something that should be a core piece of CAR itself. So in everything that we do as an association, it should spell out diversity and inclusion, not just for our membership, which is, we know is very diverse, right, have different needs, but also for their clients. And so just this past year, during the pandemic, of course, you know, it really kind of put a lot of things in the spotlight about the disparities in all these different groups and some of the discrimination that's going on. And so during our strategic planning, we actually amended the vision statement for CAR, and I'm going to read it to you real quick. It says, the Colorado Association of Realtors advances opportunities for property ownership for all Coloradoans and positions realtors as trusted real estate advisors and community advocates. So when you hear that, Beth Ann, going back to what you said, you want more clients. You want to be able to work with everybody. So we think that it's very important that that statement right there is where we're aspiring to be, and that's who we're going to be. And so some of the things we're doing, you know, we actually added that into our end statements. So we're under policy governance. And so before that, these end statements did not include diversity and inclusion statements, but now they do. And I think that's very important because now it's a part of what we follow. It's our directive from the board of directors. We have to do something about it. We have to put action to it. And I think that's what we're doing now is with all the different programs. We have a diversity and inclusion committee that Natalie is chairing, doing a phenomenal job with that. We have a lot of other members who are on this call as well that are part of that and participating. And I remember when the diversity and inclusion got started, we had probably about 5 or 6 people on that committee. Now, Natalie, I believe we have about 25 to 30 people. And it's and it's very diverse. It's around the state, which is beautiful because diversity means something different in every part of our state.
It really does. And I think that's a great point. I mean, I'm involved a bunch with the Veterans Association of Real Estate Professionals. And one of the things we're campaigning with at the national level is to have veteran status recognized as a fair housing and protected class, which it isn't right now. So diversity and, you know, discrimination doesn't matter against veterans. Well, yeah, you only sacrificed, you know, life, limb, security for your country. Oh, why not? But this is the point. I'm not just trying to be dramatic here. It's that we don't think of a lot of protected categories as something we shouldn't discriminate against. Sometimes you only think of skin color. And
let's not forget, Colorado was a pioneer when it came to the Fair Housing Act. We were the first state to actually enact a fair housing laws. That was in 1959. That was even before the federal Fair Housing Act. So I think that we, you know, we're leaders in this arena. So why not continue that?
And we should continue to lead. And I love the fact that you're pointing the finger there, but you're also pointing the finger here. I think that really starts at, again, not trying to be dramatic, but that's really, it starts here. And that's, I think it's really cool. I think it's really cool. So I'm going to turn back to Natalie for a second. Natalie, you know, more on the boots on the ground kind of level as the diversity and inclusion committee chair, whoop, whoop, give us a little bit of an update on how the committee is working to support the focus of CAR leadership. Everything that Tyrone said, how are you bringing that home and giving us something actionable on a regular basis?
I love that, Beth Ann. I love that you said that we're the boots on the ground. That's the way that I see it, right? As the D&I committee, we're the action, right? So leadership for CAR has set the expectation of how our organization is going to operate, what we offer as far as support for our members and for the information for the consumer. But then the committee, I look at boots on the ground. What can we do? What are the action items? What are we achieving? So I do want to jump into that but I want to go back because there are pieces of the onion that you guys started to peel back on that I want to make sure that we do highlight. And I think it's specifically in terms of the statistics that you shared. You're absolutely spot on with the stats that you shared. Some of the other numbers that we see coming from the LGBTQ community, I think, Beth Ann, you were alluding to this, 46% of the members of the LGBTQ community will not even start the process of purchasing real estate because they have that perception or fear. I think the way the report reads it is fear that they'll be discriminated against. Now, it's fear perceived a reality that's our reality, right? If it's perceived or if it's truth, the fact is, as realtors, we have 46% of the LGBTQ community that does not even feel comfortable enough reaching out to us. The report also takes it a step further by saying, you know, there's another larger percentage, I believe it's 70+%, that feels that even if they start the real estate process, that they'll be discriminated against once they move into the community they identify as an ideal place for them to live.
I do remember that.
Perceived or reality, this is what we're facing, right? So there's a tremendous amount of opportunity for us to educate not just our realtor members, but also the consumer. So this comes back to the boots on the ground, right? When we're for the D&I committee for CAR, a big area of focus for us this year is on education. And it's not just education for realtors, but also consumer education. Ty is going to share a little bit more about some of the initiatives that we're working on from the advocacy standpoint, but there's a disconnect. You know, this is not just specific for the LGBTQ community. When you're looking at the African American community through the Sheba report that NARAB puts out, you have 40+% of the African American community that currently has home ownership, right? I believe we went from 40 to 47%, but we're still below the 50% threshold. And I think that goes, again, that number is pretty consistent across the board. It's less than 50% for the LGBTQ community. So when you're looking at that percentage or less than 50% home ownership rate, then there's an issue that we need to overcome in terms of education to let these groups and all of our groups within our community know the benefits of home ownership. Like, we understand the benefit. Ty mentioned, when you're looking at education, the stability of owning a home, when you're looking at building generational wealth, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity that's being missed by not helping, unfortunately, these communities that feel like there's a fear of discrimination. Again, I say perceived a reality. I think in some aspects it is the reality. In cases it's perception. But again, that's our opportunity to educate. So education is a big piece. So you guys can keep an eye out for education opportunities that are coming from the state level throughout the year to address specifically inclusion and equality. The other piece is advocacy. So this is a new partnership that the D&I committee has actually embarked on with the Government Affairs Department for CAR, which I am so excited about. So Elizabeth Peets and Bridget Garcia and their team is really helping to bring to the D&I committee any type of legislative changes that are coming down the pipelines. And we may not realize, and again, we're realtors, right? And affiliate partners. You probably don't have the bandwidth to tear apart a 200-page bill, right? Or a piece of law that's going through. So we rely heavily on the Government Affairs Department to give us the insight of what's coming down, what's the impact on real estate, and what is the perception or the reality that it's creating for home ownership as it pertains to our clients and the communities that we serve. So we're so excited about the advocacy partnership moving forward this year. The other piece is community outreach. That's another umbrella for the D&I committee this year. And when we talk about community outreach, it's partnerships with our affiliate associations. So Beth Ann, you were able to come to one of our initial roundtables that we had. So earlier this year, well, I guess it would have been 2020. So late last year.
I know, it was weird. It was an in-person event. So
exactly. It might have been a year ago. So bringing together the leadership from the realtor organizations to actually come and sit down and what are the issues that you're facing? What are the issues that the members of your organizations are bringing forth that we can address at the state level? Because Tyrone mentioned, the things that we see as far as issues in one part of the state may not be an issue in the other part of the state, but the reality is that it's an issue for all of us, right? When we're looking at the state of Colorado, we need to address these things head on. So having that community outreach and partnership with our affiliate organizations, as well as outside organizations, if we're going to reach out to the DOJ, or if we need to reach out to the Urban League, you name it, these partnerships and these resources we need to compile in one spot so that we can provide that information and data to our membership so that we can be well-informed, well-educated to help serve our clients. And then last but not least is basically resources. So I mentioned a couple of things that we're looking at, the statistics that we went over. And I'm happy to share all of those reports with you, Beth Ann, so that you can share them with all of the networks. These reports are created on an annual basis, creating an opportunity for us to just have them housed in one central location so that you can jump over and say, I need to pull the stats on, you name it. You can head over to CAR site and then make sure that you have access to that information. So we're working on like a repository for all of the data and resources and steps that you take. Let's just say you feel that you or your client has experienced discrimination in some way, shape, or form. Do you know the appropriate steps to take or the advice to give to your client if they feel that they've experienced discrimination? What do you do? What are some outlets or resources that you can utilize if that's the case for you or your client? So we're working to really house that on in one central location for all of our members to have access to, and continue the communication with Women's Council. It's really important for, and Beth Ann, with working with the veterans, with VA rep as well, you know, bringing all of that information together, because ultimately it is our community that we're serving, our clients that we're serving, the more well-informed we are to serve our clients, I think the better service we're providing to them.
Absolutely. Well, and I think about this in, you know, even more micro terms of like, what can I do for my clients? And I think of things like, boy, I can design a better buyer presentation. I can, you know, maybe I don't want to give some of these stats because they're kind of intimidating, but at least I can know them, because when I meet with clients of a little bit more diverse background, they may not even know where the fear is coming from in their mind. Why haven't I pursued a home? Why do I feel like this neighborhood? I don't even want to go there. I love it, but I don't. They may not be able to give words to those fears.
Right.
And my knowledge, my support of the community, my advocacy of fair housing and all sorts of different things gives them that comfort to purchase a home. And, you know, I hate to make it all about me and clients and that sort of thing. And that is one aspect of our business. But my message here is to take the tools, take these amazing resources that Natalie and Tyrone have to craft a better business, to create better flyers or buyer presentation or a listing packet or something like that. So,
or just dialogue. Like that's the other thing, is just dialogue, right? I'm a big advocate of having the tools in your tool belt and use them if needed. So let's just say it is a situation of discrimination. Let's just go to the extreme. I'm hoping that we don't have to experience that, or, you know, that it's a small percentage that has to face that. But in the event that you do, what's the dialogue that you have with your client to address that? Right. And it's preparing yourself in the event that you have to have that conversation, and being that trusted real estate advisor. As Tyrone mentioned, when it's in the statement, we are the trusted real estate advisor for our client. If your client comes to you and says, I've been discriminated against, what do we do? We can't like stare at stars and twiddle our thumbs, right? Like it's our responsibilities to continue to be that trusted real estate advisor, even when it becomes challenging. So that's, again, hopefully you don't have to use the dialogue, or you can be proactive, like you mentioned, Beth Ann, and have that in your packets or have it present on your website as far as where you stand in terms of inclusion and equality and the role that you want to play in, you know, really, I say, weaving together the fabric of our communities, because that's what we do. We all have that opportunity to play that role. Absolutely use that, and just know that you have it in your tool belt ready to go in the event that you need to use it, or be proactive and say, here's where I stand and where my company.
And like you said, hopefully we won't have to use it, but I have a couple more questions for you and Tyrone. I want to take a little sidebar and just say, hey folks, notice that in the chat, I know our esteemed Kate Kelly has been putting some resources and links. So she's helping out in the background. If you want some of those links, they're in the chat. Natalie's going to send some out after the presentation also, but let me turn it back to Tyrone real quick. Tyrone, Natalie was mentioning a couple things, especially involvement with the Government Affairs Committee of CAR. Can you share some of the proactive steps CAR is taking as, you know, related to advocacy? You know, specifically the Century of Opportunity. What's going on there?
Yeah, so we're very proud that we started the Centuries of Opportunity, and that was kind of spearheaded by Liz Peets and Government Affairs Division, and then also Lisa Hansmeyer with Member Services Division. And the reason why they started talking about Centuries of Opportunity is because if you guys didn't know, we're celebrating our 100-year anniversary of the Colorado Association of Realtors this year, and it's going to all come to a big party, big celebration. at the Broadmoor, shameless plug, at the Broadmoor, October 18th through the 21st, I believe.
Mark your calendars.
Mark your calendars.
Not shameless. It is a plug. Everyone is invited. Let's do it.
I'm always going to plug that. But if you look at the history of the association, there was a lot that the association has accomplished in a lot of different arenas, especially in the advocacy arena. I mean, because if you think about our value proposition to the members, what is most important to you that a lot of people don't take time to really realize that's important? And that's advocacy. That's political advocacy, because you can't see it really. And then we also get the comment that, you know what, well, everybody benefits from it. Well, that's very true. But I always come back with, if CAR wasn't doing this, then who would? Name one other group out there that's advocating on your behalf and advocating on private property owners, or advocating on safe, affordable housing in the communities, right? There might be segments out there, pockets, but where's the total package? And I think CAR provides the total package and help you guys continue to to be successful in your careers, because we also advocate on your behalf, small business owners. So I like to look at it that way. So Centuries of Opportunities is that. And we said, okay, well, what can we do when it comes to the Centuries of Opportunities? Well, it turned into more of a conversation about, let's talk about the different barriers that you guys were mentioning today. And how can we make sure that those barriers are non-existent? And so Centuries of Opportunities has proactively started putting together legislation with feedback from realtors, because we wanted to learn from them about what are some of the barriers that your clients are facing. And this is across the entire state. We also sent out an email campaign to consumers and asked them, what are some of the barriers that you're facing? Then we also did some focus group with some stakeholders and all those type of things, gather a lot of information. And we put together 4 bills that we are actually going to proactively present this year during the legislative session, which began 2 days ago. One is about financial literacy. And everybody knows how important financial literacy is, because I even take the example for myself. When I went to college, I had no clue about what financial literacy was. I'm going to college. I got that credit card in the mail. They said, hey, use this credit card. I used it for everything under the sun, except for probably what I should have used it for. And I didn't realize the implications that it's going to cost me later on down the road. Oopsies. Right? And didn't have a job to really to pay it back, because I'm in school.
But you got a free Frisbee. I mean, let's not forget Frisbee.
Yes, I did. And that was everything else is very expensive. Didn't understand all that. But just understanding what it takes to make sure that what student debt is and how to pay it off, understanding how to build your credit and maintain it, understanding what it costs to buy a house, what you need to do to be able to afford a house in the future, and not just afford it and get in there, but also maintain it once you get there. All those different things are very important. So we felt like financial literacy was very important bill to take forward this year. I know there's a lot of support for this, and people say, yes, we got to do this. And I also like to say that, CAR started a program back in 1991, I want to say. It was called It's Your Move. How many of you guys remember It's Your Move program? Well, that program was designed to teach juniors and seniors in high school how to do all those things. It's about financial literacy. It taught them about credit. It taught them about their rights as a renter, because most of them were going to leaving high school. They're either going to college or they're leaving mom and dad's house at that time, and they were becoming renters. But yet they were violating a lot of different things, such as myself. I bought a dog when I wasn't supposed to. But that's what they were doing, right? And so then they didn't understand the ramification it would have on them to achieve home ownership, as Natalie mentioned earlier, is one of the greatest things to help increase your wealth. So we wanted to make sure that they had that. It was a book that we gave out to all high schools free of charge. CAR took on those costs. We put it out there. We had a group, a committee that actually put that together, and we sent it to every single high school free of charge, whoever wanted it. And then we also set up programs where we went into the schools, and it wasn't just a realtor, but it was all people from the industry, from the real estate industry sector, that talked to the students about what this means. Then we started aligning ourselves with junior achievement as well to do this as well, because that program is phenomenal too. So let's not reinvent the wheelhouse, right? But so financial literacy is one of the bills that we're coming through with the Centuries of Opportunity. So all the research that we're gathering, that's one of the things. The other one is we felt like we needed to make sure that the Division of Housing really was very transparent when it came to all the monies that they were receiving for housing, and then also how they were putting it out there. So that was another thing that came from that. The other one was bill credit, and one of the things that the group came up with was using your rental income to help establish your credit. Right now, that doesn't happen. I know that in many cases, when you talk to some of the lenders, they tell you that, you know what, we'll ask for the credit history of a person, but that's not something that's out there right now. So we're saying, we ask that happens, and it's not mandatory, but if people want to opt in and use their credit from their renting history, why not? It helps them build their credit. I know there's still some people that are on both sides of this, so we're trying to work out all the kinks. I do know that the Department of Housing and also the CHAFA are going to do a pilot program to get this off the ground for this year, and then see how effective it really is, make some tweaks to it, and then probably bring it back next year for legislation to be considered. The other one is the incentivized housing. We all know that, you know what, the inventory is so low in the state of Colorado, not just Colorado, but all over the place. So what can we do to help the home builders build affordable, attainable homes in the state of Colorado? So they're coming up with a lot of different ways. And I know that some of the things, they're going to create a menu of items that if the builders choose, or they actually say, yes, we'll do these things, then they would get they'll get, like, the municipalities would get like $100,000 or more, something like that, to their cities. And those funds would be paid by the Proposition EE. You guys remember that's a tax on the tobacco and cigarette industry. So that's some of the things that they're coming up with. And all that information came from that data, that research that we sent out there at the beginning of the year to enable us to put these ideas together. Also, we also work with a lot of different stakeholders to help put this information together. We don't have to be the smartest kid in the class, but we got to be one of the kids in the class. So we love being at the table. We're having these conversations, and I think that that's a lot of positive things where you see CARS taking action, being proactive to get these things done on your behalf, but also on consumers.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful information. I was just about to ask about bills. I think that's great information, great stuff we can share with our clients too, because I don't think a lot of them are aware that we as realtors advocate, for, I remember a couple of years ago, just having the privilege to write off our interest, small things like that, but make a big, big difference in some homeowners' minds and financial perspective. So that's really good stuff. That's very, very good stuff. What about, Natalie, let's talk about local level. Let's talk about like what I can do to get involved. Like what's in it for me here? We've tried to drive this point home with like buyer presentations and some statistics and what you can do in your particular business. But like, if we have questions, if we're interested in learning more about diversity and inclusion, equality, incorporating our best practices or some of these things that we've mentioned today into our businesses, what do you recommend? How can I do more?
I think that's a fabulous question. So oftentimes I hear like the what's in it for me as far from the realtor's perspective is, well, you can make more money. I'm not hanging my hat on that at all. I think that we're more than that, right? Like those of us that are committed to really changing the landscape of real estate and really creating an opportunity for all potential homeowners that are ready, willing, and able to buy. It goes beyond a paycheck. At least it does for me. And I know many of the faces in this group today, it goes beyond that for many of you as well.
I think that's why we're here, because it resonates with us as an important topic. So
absolutely. Good. Absolutely. Number one, first and foremost, I think is education. Be it that I'm the chair for the D&I committee for CAR, I am not the person that knows all. As Tyrone mentioned, I'm just a student that's in the room, right? I'm there and I learn alongside all of the other committee members. I will shameless plug. If you are interested in serving at the state level on the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, I am happy to see your application come through. But it's education, right? I think the first thing that we can do is educate ourselves. And what I have found in serving in this role, serving at the local association, is that there's a lot that I don't know, right? And that's okay. I'm not going to pretend that I know all of the things. And hearing more of the stories that come forth is probably the most challenging piece for me, because I haven't experienced the things that a lot of our members have, but I have empathy for the things that our members have experienced. And so in that education piece, just coming to all of these conversations, or at least to the table when we're having these conversations from a place of curiosity and willingness to learn, in addition to actually using the tools and resources that are available. So not just empathizing and hearing the stories of our fellow realtor members, but NAR has compiled great resources that you guys can utilize and take advantage of. One of the most recent is the Fairhaven course, and Kate Kelly, I know you're probably going to drop the link into the chat box because she's on it. The Fairhaven course is an interactive, like, simulation game. If you are not a realtor member, we can get you an access code. So just reach out to a realtor member. We can send an invitation link out to you. But that simulation basically takes you through successfully completing 4 transactions. And it's interesting because as you navigate through that simulation game, you realize very quickly, Beth Ann, when you talk about best practices, do you have the exact same process in place for every client that you work with? This simulation puts that to the test. And
Wow.
It was eye-opening for me, because I realized, wow, I thought I had a process in place, and it was compromised when I went through that simulation. So very eye-opening. I would challenge everyone to go through that.
That's kind of cool, because when I mentor new agents, a lot of them ask me, well, what should I have? What flyer should I create? What should go in my buyer presentation? And this is a great way to see maybe what situations you'll run into, what questions come up.
Yes.
And anything in a buyer presentation is just answering questions that come up.
Exactly.
Be proactive.
I will say all of the scenarios were scenarios that I've never faced. So, that's always great too. I'd rather it be a fictitious simulation where I'm facing those scenarios, but the reality is that it's a possibility that it can become a reality. So Fairhaven, great resource that's available. Thank you, Kate. She has dropped that in the chat box. The other is the implicit bias training. So there is a 1-hour training or just video that's on the NAR site through the diversity link that Kate dropped in the chat earlier. And you can link that. It is really just a broad overview as far as implicit bias training, kind of a reality check for you. Like, it's the fact is we have biases. How do we address those or face those and still have a practice that is ethical, inclusive, to all of the clients that we serve, and respectful to the members and realtors that we serve alongside. So that's a big piece. We also have the At Home with Diversity course. So I am certified to do the At Home with Diversity course here in Colorado. Another big win is the At Home with Diversity course was not recognized to have CE credits connected with them. We are working to get CE credits approved for that course offering. But I will tell you another small victory that I think coming out of the CAR D&I committee, the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, is that we had to actually have that sit-down conversation with Dora, or at least we were preparing to have the conversation with Dora. We submitted the application for the At Home with Diversity course. I've been involved with 3 submissions for that course to Dora, and all 3 were declined. With the premise that the training was not one that would have direct impact on the consumer. So there's a focus at the division that they want to have all CE credits connected to having direct impact on the consumer. So I was blown away by the fact that diversity and inclusion training wasn't seen as a benefit to the consumer.
Yeah, weird.
So I think just as recent as this month, they have approved inclusion and diversity as CE credits that will be approved moving forward. And the driving force behind that is the realtor organization. So they are seeing that NAR from the national level is seeing that inclusion and diversity is an important topic. And we're now seeing that here in Colorado. So stay tuned. We're hoping to have positive news on the At Home with Diversity course, but that's another opportunity to just continue to be educated with ways that you can create a business practice that is inclusive and equal for all of the clients that you serve. Last but not least, it's the diversity services and tools that are available on NAR site. I've touched base on that. And then just staying plugged into Women's Council. So so many members here are involved in other organizations, and just continuing to bring that information back. If it's issues or challenges that we're seeing within our industry, just continue to stay top of mind. If there are bills or initiatives that are coming forth, or even bills or initiatives that this committee or other affiliate organizations want to see move forward, those are things that, to absolutely bring them to Tyrone. He's your main point of contact, but these are things that we can work on together. We don't need to silo as we're addressing these issues. These are opportunities for us to really come together and tackle any of the issues that we're seeing.
Well, and I think awareness is a huge point that you're getting at here. And awareness goes two ways. Not only is awareness good for me as a business owner, however small my business is, that's fine. However many transactions I do each year, that's fine. But me as a business owner, I should be aware of these things so I can head off qualms, questions, issues, insecurities in my clients. And also awareness for you. If I'm seeing something, maybe it's not something that you or Tyrone are going to address directly, but maybe it's something you can bring, to another committee or to, I don't know, some head muckety muck politician or something like that. So these are really great issues. I'm really glad everybody's here to hear this, increasing their own awareness. I want to turn it over to Tyrone in case he has any other points. Then I'll turn it over to the group for some questions, because that's really all the questions I had. And I feel like I've been talking a lot here. I see, Kate, you have your hand up. So that's a long laundry list of next things. But Tyrone, you take it away. What else do you have to add to any of that?
Well, you just mentioned about it. You said, taking it to the legislative yakety mucks, however you put that. But that's an area that you could also get involved with, because CARD has started a key contacts program. And that key contacts program, we're looking for realtors who have relationships or who are willing to build relationships with legislators in their area to talk about some of the realtor issues and consumer issues. So that way, when they are making decisions, they have all the information to make the right decision versus just, a piece of the information. So if you guys are interested in being a key contact, I know that Liz Peace in the Government Affairs Division, Nick Pacone, they're doing a fantastic job with that. I'm a key contact myself. So, I had my first meeting with my representative, and it was awesome. Just getting to know that person from just as a person and understand what their philosophy is and what they need as legislators. And you guys, they don't have all the information. So that's where we can fill that gap for them and help give them all the information they need to make the right decisions for Colorado.
Nice. Very well said. Very well said. And I know Derek Munoz, he was on this call. Actually, he's involved in the DMAR level. Speaking of getting involved, if anybody's interested in getting involved, I know Tyrone, Natalie, they are not intimidating people. Let me tell you, they are very cool people, very knowledgeable. But if that's like a little bit too high of a level for you, DMAR has some opportunities to get involved on the Community Alliance Committee, if I can say that correctly. I'll put Derek's email in the chat. You can reach out to him. You can also get involved with us as Women's Council. We do these important type of things that really make a difference in our lives and community, our clients' lives too. So there's all sorts of ways to get involved, even if, you might not think, this state scary. It's not. Get involved. Let us know. All right, Kate, what do you have for us? I see your hand is raised.
Thank you. I'm going to reiterate that. Get involved. It's so worth it. The relationships you build are so valuable. Natalie or Tyrone, do you guys know if there's any word from NAR about updating the At Home with Diversity content? Because I know that has been some of the feedback, is that it feels very dated. And personally, after doing the At Home with Diversity training, I think summer of 2020, and then Fairhaven rolled out like right around Thanksgiving. Personally, Fairhaven was way more eye-opening than getting the certification for At Home with Diversity. So do you know if there's any conversation about that?
I'll take that one, Tyrone. So here's the reality. It was just updated. So they just updated the content last year. And I'm not sure what curricula you were in my session, possibly, or did you? I don't know if you were in my session, Kate.
I did it virtually through NAR.
Okay. So I'm not sure. Yeah. So the content that I currently have is the updated version. Because of the pandemic, they were going to do this big national rollout of the new content at mid-year or legislative meetings last year. And then the pandemic hit, so we had to do that virtually in April. So the new content for the At Home with Diversity course was just released April of 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about customer service. There you go.
I will say, just from the instructor standpoint, a lot of that, I think the depth of that curriculum really hinges on the participation of the students or those that opt in to participate in the class. A lot of the big takeaways really came out of like the breakout discussion or even just the discussion in general with the group. But yes, it has been updated.
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds good. All right, gang, what questions do you have? We still have a couple minutes left in our session here. Do you have questions, thoughts, I don't know, compliments? What do you got?
Yeah.
Shout them out.
What are your thoughts on the changing the use of terms like master bedroom, master bathroom? Are there other terms in real estate that we need to be changing?
Yeah, I will just speak to the terms that have come to my attention. Absolutely, the master bedroom, master bath, those terms. Jack and Jill is also a term. Walk-in closet, also something that is on the radar. Here's my takeaway on this. And I don't know, Ty, you let me know if this is official or not.
I'll stop you, Natalie.
Hey, please do, yes. In looking at a lot of the descriptions that realtors, agents, licensees are using outside and beyond those are probably more alarming than the use of master room association or Jack and Jill. There's still descriptions that say within walking distance to shopping or take your bike on blah, blah, blah. I mean, we're talking protected classes at this point, right? So, or family friendly or bring the kids. I mean, every time I see this, I am just shocked that there's not a flag that pulls those. So my personal opinion is I think that it needs to be addressed and also enforced, not just it just needs to become a standard of practice, but we're working on that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I teach the annual commission update. I try to make it a little bit more interesting. And a couple of the slides in the fair housing section towards the end specifically speak to that. So if you haven't taken your annual commission update yet for this year, for 2021, I'd encourage you to take it. Don't be one of those who waits till December 31st. I mean, like, yeah, that's okay. We can have champagne, but take it now. But the fair housing section in there goes through a lot of those terms. And specifically, anytime you have a fair housing class identified, I think is the key. So like steps from the Jewish,
yes, synagogue,
whatever you want to say, school,
yes.
hospital,
Yes. School,
anything
yes.
that identifies, something like that. That's a little bit too specific in what we want to stay away from. Of course, the master to main suite is coming. Yeah, that's great. But as Natalie says, it's probably not as high on the radar as something like Jewish school.
Right.
We can just identify it as a school.
Right. Or not. Let's just talk about the property.
Or what? What? Crazy? Absolutely. We could just focus on the property in real estate.
Yes. Great question, Nancy. Thank you.
Absolutely. What other questions do you have? Good stuff.
I did see Wendy's comment in. Wendy is also on the CAR D&I committee. So she's your contact at PPAR. You guys, we're easily accessible. I consider myself to be fairly reachable. So email, text, call. I'm happy to answer any follow-up questions and absolutely keeping you guys informed with what's coming down the pipeline. And then Beth Ann, I'll share with you resources, those of you that just want to take a look at some of the numbers that we see from our affiliate associations that create data, but also NAR houses information as far as home ownership rates that we're looking at across the nation. And you can hone in and look at that from the state level as well. So just get familiar with the NAR site. There are a ton of resources there for you, but I'll compile what we have together already and share that with Beth Ann to get out to all of the networks.
Absolutely. And just as a couple other final remarks here. So I have been recording the session. It's not to show that you're not wearing makeup by any means. It's just to have this as a resource for folks who couldn't attend today. Like a lot of the PPAR board was very interested in attending, but they have their board meeting at the same time. I don't know who scheduled that one, but whatever. So I'm going to forward the recording to them. A few folks on here have already requested the recording for their offices, which I think is really, really cool. Keep in mind, if there's been a lot of links put in the chat, if you want to download that chat, if you see in the bottom right of your screen, when you have that chat up, there's 3 dots to the right of file. If you click those 3 dots, you can click the Save Chat button and it will download the chat for you in a text file. So you'll have all of those links. Of course, I'm going to send out what Natalie shares. I'll send out, if I can maybe collect some of the links that are in that chat. And if you want a copy of the recording, I'll ask an email that I send to everybody. If you're interested in that, I can always email you a copy or put it on I don't know, some kind of technology thing. I'll figure that out later. But let me know, because I think this was a great, great lecture. Thank you so much, Natalie and Tyrone. I really, really appreciate you guys making the time, sharing so much of your knowledge, your perspective, trying to make this actionable for us, even if we're just a single little tiny individual business owner. It doesn't matter. We can keep all of these things in mind. It affects our clients, no matter who they are, even if that reason isn't apparent, on the visual level. But it's so valuable, so good, good to keep in mind. So let me know. I'm going to keep this chat open for a couple more minutes. Technically, we were supposed to go till 11:30. If you have any other questions or something you don't want to ask in front of the group, I'll keep this open. Otherwise, Natalie, Tyrone, I'm going to let you two close it out. Anything else you want to tell us? Valuable stats, the winning lottery numbers, anything like that?
I wish I knew that. Ty, I'll let you start. Go right ahead.
Well, I don't have any of that information either, but I just want to say thank you all for being a part of this today. Let me be a part of this as well. We also have a lot of information at the CAR website for you guys to participate in. And I will share with, Beth Ann, I'll share with you our strat plan, our end goals, all those type of things, and also our key contacts program with that information. Also, one thing I do want to remind everybody, we do have a foundation as well that's doing a lot of phenomenal things in communities across the state of Colorado. It's called the CAR Foundation. Last year during the pandemic, they gave out over $350,000 across the entire state. And that's the most they've ever given out. So we have, and people can get involved with that really easy. How many of you guys know about the interest escrow account program through CAR Foundation? Pretty much,
including Natalie.
Well, it's really easy. You don't really have to do a lot other than go in there and say that you want to designate the interest from the escrow account to the CAR Foundation. And then that helps build. And that's the money that we send out to help support 501c3 housing, local housing entities, organizations to continue to do what they're doing, because we can't do it from the state level, but we know that we can work with all those local municipalities and local entities to get it done. So thank you for your time.
Not bad. Good points. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Thanks, Tyrone. I rely heavily on Tyrone and his staff at CAR. I definitely could not do half of the things that I do without their support. So thank you for joining me today. And thank you guys for having me, having us. I think this is great to have all of the networks come together to really have the education offerings. If I'm leaving my parting words, I've already done my shameless plug and my ask. If you want to get involved, absolutely do so. My one piece, when you're talking about diversity, inclusion, and equality, it's a sensitive subject, and there's a lot of emotion that's connected to it. And I think that's probably the hardest part for me, is hearing the stories that are shared, continuing to watch articles that pop up in the media. I mean, if I could go a week without having a news article to share, that would be a great week for me. We have issues that we need to address as it pertains to inclusion and equality within our industry, within our communities, but just staying open and receptive to hearing the stories that may come along your way, and just understanding that it may not be your perspective or your experience, but nonetheless, it is the experience that another human has had. If you guys follow me on Facebook, my banner is just be a good human. Let's just be a good human. That's all we can ask.
I like
That's
that.
all I can ask. Yes.
That is a wonderful closing note. So I will leave it there. Anybody else have any questions? Like I said, I'll leave the chat open. Otherwise, you're free to go. I will keep this recording. Just let me know what resources you need and we'll go from there. Thank you very much for attending. We will see you next time for another Women's Council event.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you. And thank you, Kate, for all the help. I appreciate it.
Awesome job, girl. Yes. That was so good. You were like, any other questions? I was like, girl, I could come up with 1,000 more questions.
You can talk so long and I'm okay with it. Oh, and Amy's out here too. That's cool to see Amy. Hi, Amy. I don't know if you're on Thingy Ding, but you're on voice.
No. I am here.
Hey, girl.
Hi.
It's cool to see your name out there. I have to tell you a story real quick, and it's like it's very complimentary and a thank you to you. And Kate, you'll get a kick out of this. So I have an agent that I am mentoring, and she, I think, talked to you because I think she likes you a lot, and she feels that your knowledge and your expertise is very welcome in her business. And she asked you to be her mentor the other day. And she told me that you said no. And I think that was probably one of the most valuable lessons that she could have had in like the past year. So thank you.
You're welcome. She's been, we've been talking, and we met at a women's council meeting, and we've been talking and chatting, and
Good.
she comes to me every once in a while and asks questions, and I tell her the same thing. And she just keeps doing, and I said, we might have to just have our